There can be two people standing in the exact same place, looking at the exact same opportunity, facing the exact same obstacles, living in the exact same economy. And one of them will build something remarkable, while the other walks away believing there was never an opportunity to begin with. Why? Because builders don't just behave differently, they see differently. Most people walk through life like spectators. They observe, they consume, they comment, they criticize, but they rarely create. A builder enters the same room and immediately begins asking different questions. How does this work? Could this be improved? Why was it designed this way? What problem is nobody solving? The observer sees the finished product. The builder sees the process behind it. The observer sees a successful company. The builder sees thousands of decisions. The observer sees a beautiful house. The builder sees years of planning, mistakes, revisions, and patient effort. That difference changes everything. Because if you believe success simply appears, you wait for it. But if you understand that success is constructed, you start building. Watch a child play with blocks. The first tower falls, then the second, then the third. The child doesn't interpret failure as evidence to stop. The child simply builds again. Somewhere along the way, many adults lose that instinct. They become afraid to make something imperfect, afraid to be judged, afraid to fail in public. So instead of building, they wait. And waiting becomes a habit, then a lifestyle, then an identity. Builders interrupt that pattern. They understand something observers often miss. You do not think your way into becoming a builder. You build your way into thinking like one. Action changes perception. Creation changes identity. Ownership changes attention. The first project teaches you to see the second. The first business teaches you to understand the next opportunity. The first attempt rewires the way you look at the world. Eventually, you stop asking, "Can this be done?" and start asking, "How would I do it?" That single shift may be the difference between a spectator and a builder. Most people think builders are obsessed with results. They're wrong. Builders care about results, but what they truly fall in love with is the process. The observer asks, "When will I finally succeed?" The builder asks, "What can I improve today?" That's a subtle difference, but it changes everything. Because if your happiness depends on the finish line, you spend most of your life frustrated. But if your satisfaction comes from building, every day becomes meaningful. Think about someone restoring an old house. An observer sees broken walls, dust, missing windows, endless work. The builder sees possibility, They imagine what the house could become, and every nail, every board, every late night is another step toward that vision. That's why builders tolerate setbacks differently. Failure doesn't convince them to stop. It gives them information. A failed prototype isn't proof they're incapable. It's proof that one approach didn't work. A rejected proposal isn't an identity crisis. It's feedback. A slow month isn't the end. It's a signal to adapt. Observers often treat failure like a verdict. Builders treat failure like data. That mindset creates patience, and patience creates endurance. The world celebrates overnight success. Builders know better. They understand that almost everything worthwhile takes longer than expected. A tree doesn't become strong in a season. A reputation isn't earned in a week. A business isn't built in a month. Character isn't formed in a moment. The process is the point. And here's something even stranger. The more you build, the less you fear starting over. Because you stop believing your value is tied to one project. You realize the real asset is the builder you have become. Anyone can inherit success. Anyone can get lucky once. But the person who knows how to build can create again. That's why builders carry a quiet confidence. Not because they know everything, but because they've learned something observers haven't. Skills compound. Experience compounds. Judgment compounds. Resilience compounds. Every project leaves them more capable than before. They don't trust outcomes. They trust their ability to create outcomes. And once you begin thinking that way, the world starts looking different. Not like a place filled with limits, but like a place filled with unfinished work, waiting for someone willing to build it. People often imagine that builders are born different, that they possess some rare quality, more courage, more confidence, more talent. But that's rarely true. The biggest difference between a builder and an observer isn't intelligence. It's permission. The observer spends years waiting for someone to tell them they're ready. The builder quietly gives themselves permission to begin. Permission to fail. Permission to look inexperienced. Permission to make mistakes. Permission to learn in public. And that changes everything. Because the first bridge was built by someone who had never built a bridge before. The first business was started by someone who had never run one. The first speech was given by someone who had never stood on a stage. The first book was written by someone staring at a blank page. Every expert was once a beginner. Every builder was once an observer. The difference is that they stopped waiting. They understood a truth that many people spend their entire lives resisting. Clarity does not come before action. Clarity comes because of action. You discover the path by walking it. You develop confidence by using it. You become capable by carrying responsibility before you feel ready. That is why builders often appear fearless, not because they aren't uncertain, because they've learned uncertainty is part of creation. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create under imperfect ones. Look closely at your own life. How many ideas have you postponed? How many conversations have you delayed? How many projects have remained trapped inside notebooks or buried in your mind? Not because they couldn't be built, but because you were waiting to feel ready. Maybe readiness was never the requirement. Maybe movement was. Because builders understand something observers rarely do. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. Belief creates identity. Eventually, you stop saying, "I'm trying to build," and you begin saying, "I am a builder." Not because someone gave you the title, because your actions earned it. And once that identity takes root, you stop looking at the world as it is. You start looking at the world as it could become. That is the day you stop waiting for the future and start creating it. Perhaps that's the greatest difference of all. Builders don't believe the world is fixed. They believe it can be shaped, improved, reimagined, built. Where others see limitations, they see unfinished work. Where others see problems, they see invitations. Where others wait for permission, they begin. And over time, those small decisions compound. One project becomes two. One lesson becomes wisdom. One attempt becomes experience. One act of courage becomes identity. Until the person who once doubted themselves becomes the person others look to for answers. The world often celebrates finished products, but history is written by people willing to start before they feel ready. People willing to experiment, to adapt, to rebuild, to keep creating when outcomes are uncertain. Because building is more than an occupation. It's more than starting a business. It's more than making something with your hands. Building is a way of seeing the world, a quiet belief that tomorrow does not have to look like today. And maybe that's the invitation hidden inside this entire conversation. Not to wait for more confidence. Not to wait for perfect timing. Not to wait for someone else to solve the problem. But to become the kind of person who builds, who creates instead of consumes, who experiments instead of hesitates, who contributes instead of complains, who leaves things better than they found them. Because in the end, the future does not belong to the people who watched it happen. It belongs to the people who picked up the tools and built it.